Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
8:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Monday, February 3rd of 2025. Our friend David Cohn is joining us from the Daily Wire's Crane and Company Sports Show. And David, I was triggered over the weekend by an article that I saw in the Tennessean about how Nashville, apparently they're trying to bring a WNBA team to Music City. Now, you've got apparently some pretty big names behind this move. Nashville is trying to lure them here. Former Governor Bill Haslam is one. Somebody said that Tim McGraw may be another one, and I think he's married to Faith Hill. Is that it, right? So, I mean, there's some big names behind this, it would appear. You really think that Nashville needs a WNBA team? Has there been people clamoring for the WNBA?
Well, first off, Dan, happy Monday, and thank you so much for having me. Need is a strong word. There was a couple things that struck me when I discovered this news as well. I don't know what the appetite is for Nashville for a WNBA team, but if you're going to try and increase the appetite or at least show the WNBA and more than likely the NBA, who subsidizes that league, that you're very serious, getting some names like Peyton Manning and Tim McGraw and Candace Parker, that's a good way to go about it. One thing I do find a little bit odd is that it would be Nashville as the destination city rather than Memphis. I look around the WNBA and, almost every team is paired up with an NBA team in the city where you already have those stadiums and you already have those teams. So splitting it up where you have the Memphis Grizzlies, but then you would have the Nashville team here is a little bit odd. I will say something, though, on a positive note. The proposed name for this team would be the Nashville Summit, or at least that's what I've seen or the Tennessee Summit, I believe it is, in honor of the late Pat Summit. I think that would be an awesome name if we were to have a WNBA team just to honor her. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the appetite is for Nashville for a league, especially if the league is going to continue to treat its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, who's driving a lot of this interest, if they're going to sort of continue to treat her in the way they have. Yeah,
and I do want to get to the Caitlin Clark thing. I thought this was interesting, though, because Mayor Freddie O'Connell also is all in on this. The Tennessean, though, had this line: the franchise could also raise the city's profile as a major sports town. Would it?
No, that's if there are other reasons to bring a WNBA team, then just say that. This is not going to raise a profile, not in the way that an MLB expansion team would. And I know that Nashville has been clamoring for a Major League Baseball expansion team, and we'll see. Is this a situation where they can sustain both, or is this a one or the other? Or, is Nashville in serious contention for either one? I mean, here's the breakdown of it right now. There are 12 WNBA teams across the league, and there are already 3 more set to join by 2026. So that's Golden State, Portland's going to add one, Toronto's going to add one in Canada, and that's all set to join by next year. Well, that gives you 15, an odd number, so they're talking about a 16th expansion team, and Nashville's not all alone in this. They're competing against Cleveland, Kansas City, Philadelphia. I mean, first off, just the sheer size of Philadelphia, I think, would make them a top contender for the WNBA team. But then also, when you think of Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes, is very involved in women's sports out there and has led many initiatives. I think they're going to be a serious player for this. So again, I don't know. I think if you really want to try and win it, though, getting names like Peyton Manning, who, if you wonder who Peyton Manning is, just look at a commercial these days. I don't know an ad the guy's not in.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out, David Cohn join us, is the WNBA. First of all, it's being reported they had a record-breaking year in 2024. Sellout games more than doubled. TV ratings, they say, have skyrocketed. Social media engagement is also up big time. Is that solely because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the 2 big names from last year? Or have they really, as a league, turned the corner? Because I believe they're still losing money.
Yeah, well, you can't say solely because of them. And this is what the WNBA tries to say, right? Is, no, this is so much more than just one player. Well, technically, they're right. They've laid a lot of foundation, but please stop trying to ignore the fact that you have your biggest superstar entering the league, and that's what's driving interest. So let's just cover a few things here. We're coming up on 3 decades of existence for the WNBA, and the league has never once turned a profit. It is subsidized by the National Basketball Association. And that all by itself is not necessarily a bad thing. How many companies have a department that drives a lot of revenue and they pay for other departments for research or whatever, and hopefully someday you'll turn a profit, right? Well, now you have this moment where a star has entered the league. This is very, very similar to the PGA Tour in the mid-'90s when Tiger Woods comes on the scene. People who loved professional golf before Tiger Woods, there was a market there, and they really loved it, and there were some great players. But what led to national and then international prominence was Tiger Woods coming on the scene. Can you imagine the PGA Tour saying, no, let's kind of just bury him behind Phil Mickelson and David Duval and all these other golfers because we really don't want him to be the face of professional golf. Well, not only was he that, but even now, as he's not really a serious contender in majors anymore, he still moves the needle most for the golf league, and that's almost 30 years ago.
The thing that I don't get, I mean, you're right, David. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the thing that I'm dying to ask this question. So they don't embrace Caitlin Clark. So on the one hand, clearly she is their biggest star. Clearly, a lot of that social media engagement that they saw last year was because Caitlin Clark, by some accounts, she was literally assaulted on the basketball court by the other players. So that's number one. Number two, you had Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift. They were hanging out watching the Chiefs game together weekend before last, I guess. And the WNBA, they didn't even use it for marketing purposes. So if you're seeing a surge in interest because of Caitlin Clark, yet they allow these other players to go after her really, really viciously on the court, and they're not embracing her. I don't understand why there's this disconnect between what she brings to the league and they're not willing to acknowledge it.
Yeah, well, it has to be cultural, Dan. I mean, keep this in mind. She wasn't even on the promotional material when she led her team to the playoffs. So not even like a league-wide thing like you're talking about. Wow, a moment right there. You can literally just take a screenshot of her with Taylor Swift watching a Chiefs game before the Super Bowl and share that, and we can, draw millions and billions of eyeballs. No, not even that. Even when her team makes the playoffs, she's not on the promotional material. You'll never be able to explain that to me where the answer is satisfying. So the WNBA is going to have to figure that out. And also, Dan, there's another part of this is, I said that the league is subsidized by the NBA. Well, they have their own problems. Now, I'm not saying that they're going broke necessarily. I don't know what the finances of the league are, but I know that ratings and viewership are not just down. I mean, they've halved. The viewership is down 48% in the last 12 years. So much so that Adam Silver, the commissioner of that league, is talking about, well, you know what? Maybe we should go to 40-minute games instead of 48, and let's just cut these quarters down to 10-minute quarters. I'll tell you, Mr. Silver, the length of the games is not your problem. Again, you have cultural issues. You have stars not wanting to play. You have load management. There's all sorts of problems that former NBA fans, basketball fans like myself, who loved growing up and watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls and all those teams, just, we're tired of it and we're done with it.
And David Cohn joining us. So you talk about how the NBA is having a lot of problems. Their ratings are down. The attendance is down. And you talk about how this is a cultural problem. I mean, I'm with you. I used to watch Kobe. I used to watch Shaq. I used to watch Michael Jordan, going way back, Larry Bird and so forth. And so for whatever reason, I fell out of interest with the NBA. And I think part of it is just there was a lack of, seemed to me, like marketable stars here in the more recent decade or so.
Well, yeah, and that's interesting because the talent on the court, I mean, is as good as it's ever been. I mean, the star, like when you say star, I don't know if we're talking about just how good they are at the game or how we as fans are able to connect with them, because there's great basketball players. And look, I'm not saying that those guys in the past, the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans and the Larry Birds, I'm not saying that their egos were any less big, right? Like they had the biggest egos in the world. They were sports superstars in their own time and in their own right, but at least it seemed there was an attempt to be grateful towards the public. I know that I'm a professional athlete and we take pride in the product we're delivering to you. I don't get that anymore from the NBA. And when you combine that with a social media era where how people consume their sports and their media is changing, and this is an excuse the NBA and in some part the WNBA has tried to give, is that, well, people just consume the games differently now. They're watching the highlights on social media rather than the full games on television and cable, and that's why our ratings are down. Well, you know what? The era has changed for every sport, so why is the NFL up? Right? Because the NFL sort of, and now the NFL lost its own viewers for some cultural issues, and viewers they'll never get back, but at least they tried to turn the tide the best they could to deliver a product that people still want to see.
Yet still no Major League Baseball team in Nashville or Tennessee. Is there any news on expansion real quick? Because we've got Chiefs fans and Eagles fans here on this show. I do want to get a Super Bowl prediction, but real quick, any news on expansion deals or teams wanting to move out of their current situation coming to Nashville or Tennessee?
Well, we talk about it a lot on our show, Crane & Company, over at the Daily Wire, because my two co-hosts and I, we grew up Braves fans. The Braves were sort of the South's team. And so, we say, well, look, we're not going to stop being Braves fans. But at the same time, it would be really great if there was a baseball club right down the road here where we could take our sons and they could fall in love with the game as well. So I'm going to stay tuned to see if there is any news. Hopefully by the next time I come on here, maybe we will have an update. But again, I'm interested now to see, can Nashville have a Major League Baseball team and a WNBA team? Can those work together with everything else the city has going on, building the new NFL stadium and things like that? Or is this a one or the other? I'm going to track down all that stuff for the next time we speak.
All right, Eagles and Chiefs, who's going to win?
Yeah, well, you'd have to be a fool at this point to bet against the Kansas City Chiefs, even though I think you could make a case, and we did last week on our show, that the Eagles have a better roster. I mean, from top to bottom on both sides of the line of scrimmage, the running back position, wide receivers, defensive backs. The Eagles are a very good team, but the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 playoff games so far this year, their opponents have outgained them in total yards and didn't turn the football over. That seems like a pretty good recipe to win football games, right? Except the Kansas City Chiefs won both those games.
I don't know. Hey, Joan, did you hear that David Cohn called you a fool?
Yeah,
I want to make sure you heard
I'm
that.
not a fool. My boys are going to take it all the way. EAGLES, Eagles.
Wow. Well, first off, at least you can spell Eagles. Maybe you should be mayor of Philadelphia. But also, this is a situation where I feel like I was on speakerphone the whole time, and I never really do. But I guess I'm on speakerphone to all of Nashville. I do think that Philadelphia is built to keep this game close. Yeah. I've played with Brandon Graham at the University of Michigan. He's one of my dearest friends. When we talk about sports stars with egos, that guy's not one of them. I want all the success in the world for him. And remember, he had the strip sack on Tom Brady when the Eagles beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl several years ago. He's practicing for the first time since coming back from injury at defensive end. He's going to play in the Super Bowl. He texted me this week. So for him, if Philadelphia wins this thing, I'm going to be extremely proud for him. But what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are doing right now is just absolutely unprecedented. And I just hope we get a great football game.
That's all what I want. I just want a great game, and I want the game to be worth me staying up late.
Yes, and please watch our live stream. Crane & Company is going to live stream the Super Bowl from Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We're going to be coming live commentary, live wagering. Please tune in to us while you have the game up on your TV as well.
Can folks, I mean, obviously I'm on in Nashville. You live here. So can people come and hang out with,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee, just down here south of Franklin and Thompson Station. We've live streamed every college football playoff game from there. We also live streamed the NFC and AFC championship games from there. So please go in there, grab you a cigar, say hello. We're going to be simulcasting, and we'll have the commentary. A lot of people just mute the game on their TV and keep our audio on. We'll have live betting, and it should be a lot of fun.
Wear your green.
Yeah. I'll have to remain kind of neutral, but like I said, I won't be mad if Philly wins.
So when is Tom Brady doing the play-by-play for this game?
That's a good question. I don't know if are you a fan of what Tom Brady's doing?
No, I don't. He's not as good as what's the other
Romo?
guy? Yes,
Romo?
He's not as good as Tony Romo.
It's funny you say that because it doesn't look like, I'm not sure if he's calling this game or not. It's funny you say that because I've laughed recently. Tony Romo is so good, and I think the only one who was better than Romo was when John Gruden was on. John Gruden was as good as it gets too, but Tony Romo has such a knack for this. I just think it's so ironic that Tony Romo was finally able to be better than Tom Brady at something, but it took post-playing career for that to happen. And again, Tom's still new to this. I expect him to go watch the film and improve and all those things.
Tony Romo, though, and I find this an interesting conversation. Tony Romo, he was good from day one, and clearly Tom Brady, there's just something about him. He just doesn't have that spark that a Tony Romo or a John Gruden has.
Well, you're right. Yes, it's Fox. So Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady will be calling this game. So look, once again, in a Super Bowl, all eyes will be on Tom Brady.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, if you don't like Tom Brady, and there's a lot of Tom Brady haters, as you said, just go when the game happens, just mute the game and listen to Crane and Company from their remote in Spring Hill. One more time, where is it, David?
Sir.
Where is it again?
Yes, sir. Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and that's where we be coming live from. But we'll be on all platforms. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on Daily Wire Plus. We'll be on X. We'll be everywhere that they have electricity and electronics.
And make sure if you go see David and you heard about him on this show, make sure you tell him that Dan said hello. So there you go. David, always great to have. By the way, real quick, what's your X handle?
David Adam Cone, C-O-N-E.
All right, we'll talk to you soon again soon. 8:24, Nashville's Morning News. Huh?